Hello. Tadja and I are here today to chat about the solstice, the winter solstice. So, we're obviously recording this a little bit before it, but you're probably hearing this right around the actual solstice itself. So, December 21st, the darkest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. And we are really going to be talking about it more from that Northern Hemisphere viewpoint. And the darkness. However, obviously, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be the longest day of the year. So you get lots of light. But we're going to talk about, I'm going to get some energy coming in.
Nice.
We're going to talk about some different practices that we can do to support. Taj is going to lead us through an exercise at the end. And I think we should just start with jumping into the astrology of around the solstice and the end of December and what this time period's kind of looking like.
Great. Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So I think where I want to start is really acknowledging that this year, 2022, has been heavy, honestly.
Yeah.
It has had a lot of pretty heavy astrology. Like there's been quite a lot that's come up. And if you're in the mystery school, then you'll have seen all of the astrology updates in there on the mailing list as well that we sent out throughout the year. So you may be able to like think back and go, yeah, well, we have had a lot of heavy astrology. It's been quite transformative. I don't really know anyone who has gotten through this year without having to go pretty deep into some shadow aspects and deep into examining some triggers and that kind of thing. And so in that sense, it's been difficult. And we're not totally stepping out of that yet. We're still kind of staying in the shadows. We've got some astrology coming that will bring a little bit more momentum. But one of the messages that we really wanted to start with here in this little update is it's not the time to like let go. It's a time to continue holding on through the shifts and the transformation. It's a time to just continue letting the energy move you how it wants to move. Like this is not, to me, a very active time. This is very much a sit back into the shadows that want to come up for you, because darkest day of the year, solstice, right? But don't go looking for them. We're kind of at a place where if you've been doing a lot of shadow work like we have, you can stop. You can stop for a little bit. You don't need to actively go looking for the shadow work. That season is ending, and we're really moving into a season of the shadow and darkness and difficulties aren't over quite yet, but we can stop looking for what else do I need to heal or do.
Right. Like we're already in the shadow. We're already in the darkness. It doesn't have to be something that we had a conversation about this in our Earth Akashic healing training session with some wonderful clients. And one client shared about how when she was sad, she used to turn on like a sad playlist and like dive way down deeper into the energy and like really like milk that for all it's worth. That's sort of what we're advising against. We're already in the shadow, we're already in the darkness, like it's already here. My card that I pulled today is the cave. So we're in the cave, we're in the bear cave, we're already here. You don't need to dive headfirst deeper in, it's already present.
I love that you pulled the cave. That's so
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, we don't have to over identify with it anymore. And one of the things that's happening right around the solstice astrologically that really speaks to this is that Chiron is moving out of retrograde, and it's been retrograde in Aries since July.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Chiron is the wounded healer. Um, and Chiron really is our shadow work planet. Like Chiron is one of the or asteroid. It's one of those placements that um Chiron is really significant in what it helps bring up and unearth. And when it's retrograde, we're really in a season and space of like going back over, our past, maybe the past 2 years, maybe like childhood, whatever it is, wherever Aries is in your chart, basically. Um, and we're like excavating it with Chiron, especially in retrograde. And so Chiron goes direct on the 23rd. And so right after the solstice. And that is really very much this energy that we're saying of you don't have to go looking for the shadow anymore. Like we're moving out of that season. Thank goodness, right? Like such a blessing to be moving out of that season.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that is happening, well, there's a few things happening, but the other thing happening right around the solstice is Jupiter moves into Aries on the 20th. So Jupiter's been in Pisces. And it was in Pisces from approximately, I can't remember if it started in December of 2021 or January of this year, but December or January through May. And then Jupiter went into Aries until mid-November. And then we've had one last month of Jupiter moving back into Pisces. And so now we're moving into Aries. And Jupiter in Aries is a lot of energy. Jupiter in Pisces is like really flowy and lovey and abundant because Jupiter is at home in Pisces, but it's not necessarily like let's move forward energy. Jupiter in Aries is expanding because Jupiter expands, expanding our forward trajectory. So we're getting momentum. So like if you felt the kind of like really tired, really maybe burnt out, maybe like needing a break, kind of energy, that's probably going to start to shift for you as Jupiter goes into Aries, because we're really going to finally have forward momentum there that we haven't had in a while.
Yeah, that's right. And Neptune went direct recently as well. So it feels like there's an energy of like the fog clearing, the mists clearing. Like we've been really foggy, really deep in ourselves. Like a lot of things have been coming up for change and for transformation, but there hasn't been a lot of action or a lot of like having a clear path forwards. And so, as Neptune continues to move away from his retrograde, and now that Jupiter is now stationing direct and moving into Aries, like we are finally having that forward momentum energy. And Mars retrograde will end in January.
Yeah, January 12th, Mars goes direct. We do have Mercury going retrograde on the 29th of December, and I think it goes direct like the 20th or something of January. So we're not going to be totally out of the fog clearing until Mercury goes direct. And then we really do go like have direct energy, which is going to be so nice. So we've got a month until that totally all clears. But Neptune going direct is huge because Neptune is so like foggy, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so when Neptune is retrograde, it really does feel like I can't even really think properly. Like my brain is cloudy. Um, and that's hard. And so even though we don't fully have everything going direct quite yet, just with Jupiter going to Aries, um, there should already be a feeling of, okay, all these things that I've been wanting to do, I'm starting to have the energy to plan them again.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think the message is to just take the pressure off for the rest of this month, but even into January too. Like I know there's going to be a lot of pressure to do your New Year's resolution and to like do all those things and jump into the gym and whatever it is, but if that energy isn't feeling authentic to you, if that's just not what's naturally happening, that's okay. That's not what's naturally happening for most of us. Just take the pressure off. We're still in this period of shadow and of darkness. There are planets shifting around, and we're not going to feel like we can get moving until like February, March as we get into next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is really um this solstice. So solstice is always, the darkest day of the year. It is really a day to like go inward, and a time period to go inward and embrace the slow, embrace the shadow. If you think of like ancestrally, the solstice would have been such a dark day, because depending on where you are, it's only some places it's only a few hours of sunlight, some places it might be like 7 or 8, but even that's not many.
Right.
So thinking of like ancestors and how that time period over the solstice would have really been sitting in community, like sitting in the time, like sitting in the by candlelight or whatever, but like
Yeah.
sitting together, sitting with yourself and not going and trying to make things happen because there literally wasn't enough daylight to do so, and there isn't enough daylight to do so still. So I think that's kind of the energy that I'd like to encourage everyone to come into this year, because we have had such an intense year. I mean, even collectively, so much has happened.
Yeah.
It's been so intense. And so this is a really great time to just be in it, be in the softness. Darkness can be so soft and loving. Like so often we think of darkness just as like shadow and a little scary, but like darkness is also like the soft embrace of like mother energy,
Yeah. The womb.
the womb. And
Yeah.
so like letting it be that, where it's nurturing and regenerative, that's the energy that we're calling in
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to fight the social pressures of that chaotic, manic holiday craze of all the shopping and going to and fro and seeing so many people and traveling and all of that, that actually, and then the New Year's resolutions are coming. Like socially, we have so much pressure around this time of year, but actually, energetically, I think always, but specifically this year, like it's really about to prioritize that quiet time, that quiet alone time, that just sitting, like if you can light a fire or something, sitting in front of the fire, letting yourself, feed off of that nourishing fire energy, and integrating, really just integrating everything that has happened in this past year in a really quiet way, quiet and slow and grounded.
100%. Yeah. Letting it be quiet, letting it be slow, letting it be grounded. Yeah. And I want to add to that something that Tadja, you brought up before we started recording, of that we have, what is it, Mercury and Venus and
Pluto.
Pluto in Capricorn. So and the sun moves into Capricorn on the 22nd. So got a lot of Capricorn energy.
Yeah.
Capricorn is earth. Capricorn is like the grounded, slow, like take a step back, take some time, breathe, integrate.
Right. And it feels like it calls for very intentional action. Like we don't have a lot of extra energy right now, but what energy we do have, like making sure that it's being used intentionally. And maybe it's just one step instead of five, but you're making that one step really intentional and really solid.
Love that. Yeah, that is really beautiful energy, honestly, to sit with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Last little piece of astrology is that, or two, actually, two things I wanted to bring up. We have a new moon on the 23rd as well. So right after we have the solstice, we have that new energy coming in. Um, and so that's the other reason to take this slow, integrate, just like don't move too fast. It really is, like Tadja said, going against the pressures of the energy of this season that we receive, because that doesn't serve us. I mean, think about how many people go into a state of burnout or like hyperactivity around the holidays because we're going, I have to travel, I need to buy presents, I need to, like, I have to go be with family. And for some people that's great, some people that's hard, right? um we don't want to do that. We want to come back in, like we were saying, Capricorn ground, be intentional, but then with that new moon also allow. I like to take new moons really slow personally. Like, I think they're a nice time to take the energy slowly and just really flow with what wants to come through that's new. Like, I'm not trying to force anything that to come through, because I don't know, my knowing of what to bring in, what new things to start, that is never going to be as strong as the universal plan, right? And so taking that new moon in Capricorn to really, it is in Capricorn, right? I think that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Just had a moment of like, did I say that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, to really allow that slowness to move you through it. Don't try and make it a big manifesting moon. Like, that does not seem or feel right at all for this time. It's just I am here and I have survived, and that is more than enough. And I get to just be kind of moon.
Yeah. I want to share another card actually. It's so funny how my personal cards are feeding directly into this conversation. But this is the Three of Wands. And the message with this card is like being on a long path, like being on a path that is probably a lot longer than you think it is, that you are, that it's long ahead of you, right? And you can't see the end, and you don't know how long you're going to be on this path. You don't know what's coming for you. You don't know where it's going to end, where it leads, because all you can see is your one candle right here, but just continuing to walk the walk, step by step. Walking that walk. Not, it's not just like you were saying, not big manifestations, big blow your life up moon. It is candle by candle, step by step.
Yeah.
And you are being led down a path that is going to lead you to places you could never imagine, right? That you could never think of just with your little human brain on your own, that there is a divine plan. And I think next year is going to be, I mean, I haven't looked into the astrology yet. I haven't looked into anything about that, but my feels are next year is going to be a big year, and we're going to start seeing the fruits of the labor that we did this year.
Yeah. Wow. I love all of that. I love that card so much because it's so perfect. It really is. We don't know where this is headed. We like, I know a lot of people, like a lot of my clients right now, I know, are feeling this, and lots of friends and such as well, where I've been having this conversation of what's coming next. I don't see it. Like, what's happening? Why is everything still so slow? Why does it feel like I'm not moving forward how I want? And it's because we're not supposed to yet.
Yeah,
Like, we have to just keep following that candle, like following the path. It's being lit, but it's being lit little by little, because it's not time to know.
that's right.
I really have a feeling, again, I also have not looked deeply into the astrology of 2023 yet. So we're very much just intuitively following what's coming through to us as we say these things.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a feeling that we're going to start to feel that shift even more. So we'll start feeling shifts, I believe, mid-January, when Mercury goes direct and after Mars goes direct. But then in March, Saturn finally, oh, I have chills. Saturn finally moves into Pisces and moves out of Aquarius. Just took a
Yeah.
moment. Thank goodness. Saturn in Aquarius has been hard. It's been 2020 since 2020, right? Saturn in Aquarius is got Saturn in Aquarius, and we got COVID, right? And we're now seeing potentially, I don't know, but another wave of COVID coming, right? Like cases going up, and there's stuff about that. And I was going to say potentially, or where my mind was going was potentially this is the last time we'll see that. I don't know. But
Mm.
there are astrologers who I followed throughout the last 2.5 years or so who have been talking about how um, Saturn Aquarius in certain places, like sometimes it's when it squares, or just usually when Saturn is squaring something,
Mhm.
um, we see the peaks in COVID, or we see a new variant. And so when Saturn finally moves out of Aquarius, maybe we may see that start to calm down. I don't know. But regardless, we're going to be moving out of a really intense period. Um, so many people had their awakenings with Saturn and Aquarius, into connecting into spirituality and
I did.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I had my awakening before this, but like before Saturn Aquarius, but Saturn Aquarius is what like kind of kicked me into gear of like it's time to do it, you know. So
Yeah.
um there's been a lot of like big energy with that, because also like having it like going through an awakening in this time period, there's so much shadow work that comes in with that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
oh,
we're tired.
so tired. And Saturn and Pisces, I don't honestly know enough to say what that's going to be like. I've honestly haven't really looked much because my Saturn's in Pisces, so it's going to be my Saturn return, and I'm like, I don't really want to know too much. I don't want to call it call it in, you know.
Right.
But we at least are getting different energy. We're
Yeah.
getting different energy, and I think all the hard work that Saturn has been having us put in, and wherever Aquarius is in our charts, we are finally going to feel that shifting,
Mm.
which feels so good.
So good.
Yeah. So that's a positive, hopefully.
You're right. Right.
uh okay, so couple things that I want to move on about the solstice. So I actually want to bring in a couple of um shamanic understandings of the solstice, and I want to share one of my favorite stories about where we get our current, like, so if you celebrate Christmas specifically, and like the whole Santa Claus myth and all of that, like where that comes from, because it's very shamanic and I love this.
Yeah.
So obviously the 21st, this whole time period, it's the solstice, and also, traditionally it's Yule. So a celebration of the year, celebration of the darkness, celebration of celebration for what's coming next, right? Because the darkness is the fertility, it's the womb. And so when we're in the darkness, we know we're going to be birthed into something new beautifully when we get to the summer solstice, June 21st. And our myths of Santa and Christmas and these things actually come from ancient shamanic practices. And what my favorite my favorite aspect of this story, or these myths, is that, not the favorite aspect of where these myths come from, rather, is that the process of calling in, asking Santa for, I want these things. And even if you don't use Santa, right? Most of us spend time around the solstice and Christmas, Yule, this time thinking about what do I want, and like also like visioning for our next year, because we as a society start our new years on January 1st. And that visioning, that tradition of visioning comes from shamans, specifically like Scandinavian shamans, who would actually they would vision quest, basically they would journey for their communities around the solstice. And how they would do that is they would drink reindeer pee. And so the magic mushrooms that grow in, like the psychedelic mushrooms that grow in Scandinavia, are like the and a lot of Europe, actually, there's several different varieties, are the ones that are literally like the red with the white dots, like that traditional like toadstool that everyone thinks of. And they are so toxic that you can't actually ingest them. Like a human cannot ingest them directly. And so these shamans, they would drink reindeer pee. They would collect reindeer pee after the reindeers had eaten the mushrooms, because the reindeer could, the reindeer go have their own mushroom trip, uh,
Right.
but they could actually process it. And then the shamans would drink the pee. And then, which is a whole, they're so interesting, but it's
Yeah.
really cool too, right? Like it's so cool that they were like, oh, we want to use this, but how can we ingest it?
Yeah.
And then they would use that to go on a journey to basically go vision and go on a vision a journey to find what's the year, like what are we coming into. And so um that's kind of the Santa myth, right? Santa's coming to bring us things. Well, it was the journey to go see what is our vision for the next year, right? The red and the white, it's the mushrooms.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You can look this up more in depth if you're interested. um
And the reindeer.
the
Yeah.
reindeer, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
the reindeer, literally, there we go.
Yeah.
So this time of year, solstice, you don't need to go like take your own psychedelic mushroom trip. But what you can do is take that same energy of what is my vision? What is my vision? Like, what am I, what is my actual authentic vision? And this is not like, what was my ego vision? What do I want to have happen? You know, the New Year's resolutions of like, I want to go to the gym and get fit, and that's my vision.
Right.
No. Um, it's like, what is authentically what you're being called to work on and embody between now and summer solstice. So 6 months, just make it easy. You can go further than that. You can vision longer in time than that, but um, I like to just play between the solstices, because that's more than enough time to get into what is the vision, what is being birthed. And then summer solstice gives you the like kind of halfway point of like, okay, here's what I've done so far. What's my, now as I have light, what am I bringing more into the forefront? But that's a whole other discussion. So um I would encourage taking some time to really go into meditation. If you're in the mystery school, then you can use like some of the journeys that are there, for example. But if you are not, if you're just doing this by yourself, just go into meditation and ask your higher self to come in and ask you, I mean, and tell you, you can ask that higher self, that aspect of you, um, where am I authentically headed? And it doesn't have to be clear. I want to like really make sure that's said too. Because we literally were just talking about how we're still in some fog, like the fog is clearing some, but we're still in some fog mentally. So it doesn't have to be a clear, like, I have a 5-step plan. It's more like, what's the energy? What's the feeling? What's the word? What's the intention of where I'm being called to continue and to walk down? What path am I going to walk down in this next phase, in this fertile void? What am I nurturing? What am I growing? And take a page out of those ancient shamans books of let's look at that vision and get a little more connected to it.
That's right. Beautiful. This is also a great time for working with ancestors, like you mentioned, ancestors at the beginning. Ancestors are very, ancestral energy is really present during the winter, during the dark months. I mean, they're always present. So if you do have any ancestors who feel like wise people to you, like wise man, wise woman ancestors, if it feels right to you, maybe calling in those ancestors as well and seeing if they have any pieces to share with you for your vision, because they're very present right now, especially around the solstice.
Yes, I agree. I love that. This is a great time to, if you are feeling your ancestors, put some ancestral something on your altar, maybe pictures, maybe something that you have from an ancestors. Um, And this is also to continue with like other shamanic practices we can bring in. Ancestors are definitely one of them. Um, Revamp your altar for solstice. As I say that, I'm like, I need to do that.
I know I need to do that too.
All right, so this weekend.
Yeah.
No, but whenever you listen to this, even if you're like on the solstice or a couple days after, you can still do this. Um, go outside and find some earth elements, some aspects of this time of year. So like if you live in a snowy, cold place, maybe there's like some pine needles that you can pick up. If you live someplace that is more like temperate or tropical, maybe you find a winter blooming flower. And just before you pick anything off at any plant or tree, just ask for permission. Just ask, do I have permission to take you? And you'll feel the yes or no in your body. Um, Maybe you look for pine cones, whatever it is. There's so many different things you can look for, but go find something from outside and bring it in and use that to call in the energy of this time period of the solstice, put it on your altar. And then to add to that, because the solstice is the darkest time of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, put a candle on your altar. And what I like to do is leave that candle burning. And so I don't actually use a real candle. Disclaimer, I do not leave a candle burning. I put an electric like LED candle. So I can leave that on. So the light is shining. It's like the beacon calling calling me home to myself, right? And on the evening of the solstice or overnight through the actual solstice, something that my teacher shared with me, my shamanic teacher when I was in my apprenticeship, that I still like to do is actually to leave one of those LED candles burning or lit in a window. So I'm putting out a beacon of light into the energy, to the collective. Like we are in this dark, fertile void womb space, but the light is still here. You know, this dark is just what we don't see yet. And there is light that is coming.
Ah, beautiful. I'm totally gonna do that. I love that.
Yeah. As I said that, I'm like, I think my LED candles are all burnt out. I need to go get some
Get
new
some more. Yeah.
ones. um, so it's a really beautiful practice. It really feels so good.
Mm,
It's just nurturing and wholesome.
yeah. Mm. This is also a great time to, like you were saying, revamp your altar, but to, I wouldn't say revamp your home. It feels like that energy comes more in the spring, but whatever feels really nurturing to your home to like bring in a little extra like love and light and good energy, like whether you like hang lights or you do light a fire or have candles around, like bringing in more light into your home. And you can also do, I like to do simmer pots in the winter too. So I'll put in, like, you can put in pine needles, you can put in cloves and cinnamon sticks and things like that. Just things that you connect to, different herbs and things or bark that you connect to, and just simmer that on your pot, on your stove, like all day, with plenty of water, so you don't burn your pot, and just like allow those good vapors to like fill your home, fill your home, fill your home.
I love that. Yeah. Mm, beautiful. It's just making it feel really cheery and bright. And it's like just because we're in the dark all around us, like naturally, doesn't mean that we have to like sit in the dark. You know, we can make it a really lovely place to be in, to let the darkness really nurture us. That's what makes it not scary, because how many little kids, right, are scared of the dark? And
Right.
it's because it doesn't feel nurturing. So like the candles, the simmer pots, the whatever else, you want to do, that's to make it feel nurturing. Mm, beautiful. Let's see. Yeah, I think the last thing I want to bring in personally, before our visualization is just one more time a reminder to listen to your intuition.
Mm.
Really listen. Um, that's true all the time, obviously. But when we're in the darkness, this is how I think of it and feel into it. Things are shadowy anyway. So it can be harder to see the truth. It can be harder to see what's right. It can be harder to see the unknown. And so this is a time that I'm feeling called to recommend, um, that you listen to your intuition and you listen to your gut feelings and you listen to your guides, your higher self, um, and what they want to lead you towards above all else. That's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah. And I would add to that, like moving into Capricorn season and all those planets in Capricorn, how it's earth energy, earth based, like body wisdom. Body wisdom is always there, but body wisdom is extra loud when we are in earth energy, like really taking time to like tune into your body, even just like it doesn't have to be even a full big body scan. It doesn't have to be anything intense, but just little check ins with your body is really going to up your intuitive skills a lot during this season.
100%. I agree with that completely. I think with all of that being said, I feel like we're probably ready to move into our little visualization. So,
Great.
where's yours, my dear?
Okay. This was something that just came through to me in a just a meditation I was doing a few days ago. I think it may serve. It's really simple. It's really easy. It's something you could do multiple times or just once. But I'll go ahead and lead us into it. It's pretty short, so just closing your eyes often helps with visualization. And let's just start by taking a deep breath. Okay, so we've been talking, so sink down out of your brain and back into your body for a moment. Just ground in whatever way that you prefer to ground. And in your mind's eye, I would like you to visualize or picture or call in yourself on New Year's Eve this last year. So maybe you remember what you were wearing on New Year's Eve or where you were. But even if you don't really remember New Year's Eve for whatever reason, just intend to see that past version of you and they should come forward. So just picture yourself there, New Year's Eve at the start of this year, and imagine that they're a little far away from you and that there's a line between you and that past version of yourself. They may be out in front of you, they may be off to either side. Just trust wherever they are. And this line between you and this past version of you on New Year's Eve, that represents the entire year you've lived thus far. And so I want you to invite your New Year's Eve self to start walking down this line towards you. And as they walk down this line, they are picking up everything from this past year. So all the mistakes, all the joys, all the lessons, all the fun times, the hard times, things you learned, things you did, things you said, picking up the people that you impacted, picking up the impact that other people had on you, just walking towards you and gathering this year up, whether they're gathering it up into their arms or it's simply just entering their body. They're just picking up every little bit, pieces of yourself you may have left behind and missed from the past year, maybe some some lessons or some energy that you haven't integrated, just picking it all up, picking it all up, picking it all up until they're finally right there in front of you. And just take a moment to just look at them and acknowledge them and see everything that they're holding, everything that you've been through. And with a breath, just invite them to step into your body and just come into you, enter your body with everything that they're holding and carrying. And just let this whole year just integrate into your being. We'll sit here for a breath or two as you let that happen. And now you can physically turn, or in your mind's eye at least, just turn around 180 and see that there's a line leading out in front of you. And at the end of that line, it's going to be you at the end of next year. I just want you to see them smile at you. Just share a little love with them for a moment. Say, I see you, and I am going to walk towards you step by step by step. And with a big breath, you can let that go. And blink your eyes open when you're ready.
I love that.
It's a
I
good
can
one.
feel that in my heart.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you.
You're
Mm.
welcome.
I feel like we are complete with this. I
Yeah.
just, I just want to be able to leave everyone with that beautiful energy, integrating in this year and the knowing that a new path is opening. So just wishing everyone, whether you're watching this or listening to this, wishing you such a blessed solstice and end of the year. And thank you for being here with us through 2022. And I'm so grateful because Tadja started coming in and working with me in March of 2022. So
Oh,
most of the year. And it's just been so beautiful. And so I want to bring that up just to say, whatever it is that you are grateful for, take some time to feel that, feel your blessings, and enjoy the solstice.
beautiful. I love you so much.
Me too. All right. Sending love to everyone here listening as well. And we will be back in the new year.